Quarterback Nico Iamaleava is in the game. Defensive end James Pearce is in the game. Who else is in the game for Tennessee football? NCAA Football 25. We're going to talk about the video game and the implications on the field. That and a whole lot more. It's your Wednesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. It is your spot for Tennessee football, baseball, basketball, recruiting coverage, transfer portal news, all that and more. Weekday mornings, 30 minutes or less right here on the Locked On Vols YouTube channel. And, of course, wherever you get your podcast, you can watch us, listen to us, subscribe to us, download us, all that for free. Wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to Locked On Vols on that YouTube channel. Let's continue to build this show up for more and more Tennessee fans. Shout out to Game Time for making the show possible. You can go to Game Time app. You can download that Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So we got a fun-filled show coming up today. Going to talk with Josh Ward for Ward Wednesday in segment 3. In segment 2, Tennessee versus Evansville. Evansville, the Purple Aces are the Cinderella this year of the NCAA Baseball Tournament. Should that scare Tennessee fans? It shouldn't. I'll tell you why in segment number 2. And then, of course, right now, in the matter of seconds, going to talk with my buddy Caleb Jarreau over at the UTK Daily Beacon. And he's going to discuss a story that he wrote about which Tennessee football players have opted in to the new NCAA Football 25 video game and why that's important and what this could mean for Tennessee moving forward. All that and more is coming up right now. So without further ado, let's talk with Caleb right here on Locked On Vols. NCAA Football 25. Who's in the game for Tennessee athletics, Tennessee football? Got Caleb Jarreau on from the UT Daily Beacon. He's the sports editor and put out a story early on Tuesday about some of the players that have opted in, some of the players who have not opted in according to a public's record request. And I wanted to kind of bring that onto the show here, Caleb. I think offensively, not a whole lot of guys that would be left out of the video game, but one notable player, a former highly touted recruit, 5-star prospect. In fact, he was the top-rated signee for LSU in 2023, Tennessee's transfer offensive tackle Lance Hurd. And if you saw the video that EA Sports put out there and that had Tennessee's offensive line, he was not in it. So it looks like Lance Hurd, the offensive tackle, only one missing of note for Tennessee on offense.
Yeah, I would agree, Kaner. I mean, you have a couple walk-ons that weren't on the document as opted into the game. Now, I will say there is an asterisk with opted in. The deadline was reported April 30th for players to opt in. That was reported by ESPN. Now I'm being told that it's a rolling deadline. So, like, players can opt in whenever they want. It's just not a guarantee that guys like Lance Hurd, who did not opt in, will be in the game for release day. So that gameplay trailer actually sparked my curiosity. So I was like, why is Lance Hurd not in the video game? And sure enough, that's what it was. He is not opted in as of the deadline. I also texted it could have been a possibility that he opted in with LSU. So I texted Wilson Alexander of the Advocate. He said he was not opted in on their side either. So if Lance Hurd is in the game come release day, it's a big question mark. But like you said, a lot of the guys that fans will want to play with will be in the game. You know, Nico Iamaleava is in the game, Dylan Sampson, Chris Brazel, Dante Thornton Jr., Brew McCoy, all those guys that you're going to want to, have Nico back there throwing go routes to will be in the game. So also a lot of your consistent offensive linemen. Lance Hurd was one that stood out, and then you'll have your Boo Carters and some of your freshmen. And I made a note in the story too that you'll have your specialists for those who want to punt left-footed and right-footed with Jackson Ross. He's opted in, but yeah, like you said, Lance Hurd is the main absentee from the offense, I guess.
This is video games, Caleb. We're not here to punt, all right? We're here to go for it on 4th and 14, okay? I mean, what are you talking? I don't even know why you put specialists in here. No, I'm just kidding. It is worth noting, though, when you opt into the game, and we've known this for a long time, but Caleb, you pointed out here in the story, the players do get $600 and a copy of the game. So there was a question for some of these higher profile athletes. Like, are you, for 99% of college athletes, football players, it would make sense to opt in. But for the Arch Mannings, for the Nikos, for some of these other high-profile athletes, that was kind of the question. But as you pointed out, Nico's going to be in the game. Of course, we've known that. Austin Price on the Ball Club Confidential kind of made a habit of asking these guys every week, like, hey, are you going to opt in? Are you in the game? And a lot of them just said, yeah, man, we grew up playing this game. We want to be in the game. And so James Pearce on the defensive side of the football, as we get to, he's going to be in the game, which is big. There's more notable ones for Tennessee at this time, at least from the time of your story. that on record have not opted into the game. See here. Is it Elijah Simmons, Bryson Eason, Dominic Bailey, Keenan Peely? No, they're in.
Those are the vets in the game. But when you look at some of the guys not in the game, especially in that defensive line, I don't know about people who play Madden. I usually like to use their defensive lineman because it takes very little skill. Well, some of your defensive linemen are not opted into the game. Omar Norman-Lott, Jason Jenkins, Tyree West, and Tyree Weathersby were all not opted into the game as of May 8th. So, like I said, they could still opt in, but those are guys that are not guaranteed to be in the game on release date. And when you look at the secondary, Jermon McCoy and Christian Charles and Christian Conyer are also not in the game. Obviously, Christian Conyer transferred out this offseason, so I don't know how much that'll affect Tennessee fans. But one that stood out was Jermon McCoy because some other transfers did opt into the game. Jacoby Thomas and Miles Kitzelman stand out, and Holden Stays as well. Those guys had opted into the game, and they transferred in the winter period. So my first question was maybe they didn't opt in because they were in the transfer portal or, going through changes in that time, but those guys opted in. So those are some standouts on the defensive side. Definitely a lot more, but for guys who want to use James Pearce, future first-round draft pick, he will be in the game, as well as, like you said, Keenan Peely and some of that young talent too. Like you can fly around the field with Arian Carter and Jeremiah T-Lander, it seems like.
Yeah, and I can't wait for the game to come out. I don't think my wife will let me buy a console in the game, so I'm going to have to reach out to people like you guys. But I need to know the overalls. I need to know the attributes, the awareness, the twitch, all the little ratings that kind of get in there, because I bet James Pearce, it's got to be one of the highest rated guys in the game, right? I know CBS Sports and ESPN, I believe, put out some stories over the last couple of months on who they project as being some of the highest rated players. And James Pearce wasn't mentioned in some of those, but I don't see how he can't be, whereas he's getting talked about being the number one overall draft pick at this point in time. I bet he's probably 94, 95 overall, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and I'm curious personally to see where Nico ranks up among quarterbacks, because I think EA Sports put out that Ohio State will be like a 99 overall team, and then Georgia will be 98 overall. And I'm sure Tennessee's roster isn't, the too deep, isn't as deep as those schools. But I'm curious to see where the high-end guys are. My guess would be a James Pearce Jr. and a Nico. And I wonder where they'll put guys like Squirrel White or, Dante Thornton Jr. or Chris Brazzell, these wide receivers too. I would say if I had to guess for James Pearce, I'd go like 96, 97. I feel like 95 and up is the mark where you get into like draft-eligible, talented guys. So I feel like he'll slot in somewhere. But I don't know if you can have many defensive ends above him, especially the way he played last year.
So tell me this. You also put in your story, and of course you can go over there and read it at the Daily Beacon, utdailybeacon.com. Chase McGrath, his kick against Alabama in 2022. If you played, legacy mode or something, like he's opted into the game. So is D. Williams. So is McCallum Castles, Jacob Warren, guys who are no longer at Tennessee, but have still opted into the game. How does that process work?
Yeah, so I don't know this for sure. My working theory with Chase McGrath is that since he didn't go to the NFL, EA Sports didn't have his rights to use his name, image, and likeness, so he had to opt in similar to current players. He was the only 2022 graduate on there. Jimmy Holiday was on there as well for the 2022 team, for guys who remember. I think he's a Louisville legend now, after leaving in the transfer portal. But my theory would be Chase McGrath has opted in to have legacy cards. Anybody who's played Madden knows that there's old players. Bo Jackson comes to mind. His card always comes out like the first week of the game. Everybody wants to use it. So I wonder if Chase McGrath will be like a 99 overall, ice in the veins kicker in the game. But he was listed on the document as opted into the game. So I reached out to EA. I haven't heard back from EA. So I'm sure, and they've been super tight with details anyway. So my guess would be legacy cards, but it seems like you'll be able to relive the kick against Alabama in 2022 based on the document.
I wonder if the kick will look better in that game than it did in real life. It doesn't matter. It went in. It was true, but it was a straight knuckleball. Caleb, I want to ask you this, man, kind of out the door. I'm significantly older than you, and you let me know that all the time. I mean, you're a sophomore in college, so did you play? The last NCAA football game that was out was 2014. I was in college. Okay, you were probably 9-10 years old. Did you play that game? What are your memories of this game? Because for my generation, it's a huge deal because, that was our childhood. But for you, it was the latter part of your childhood, but or the early portion of your childhood. You probably don't have as many memories, but still probably some memories.
So either 2013 or 2014 Christmas, I got an Xbox 360 just to play NCAA football. And that kind of started my rabbit hole down video games. Obviously, turned Xbox 360, turned Xbox One, turned now into PlayStation 5 and playing games today. But college football was the first game I played on the Xbox 360, and my favorite memory was like friends coming over and playing mascot mode, where you'd run around like with the Stanford tree or Smokies and Mike the Tigers and Uga and all that. But I vividly remember running around with 11 of those ugly Stanford trees on the field versus like 11, like Air Force jets. I don't even remember, but I just remember those Stanford trees with the face and playing with those, and somehow them making like fumble-worthy tackles and plays in the end zone. So that'd be my memory. I'm sure you have a lot more, Kaner.
I do. A lot of those memories, taking Appalachian State, winning a national championship, which leads me to my last question. Outside of Tennessee, I'm sure you'll play with the Vols, but maybe LSU as well. But what group of 5 mid-major, team that you want to take to a national championship? Kind of take under your wing, build, recruit, sign name, image, and likeness deals. I mean, you're going to be able to do it all. What lower level football program do you have your eye on that you want to play with in the game?
So my first thought was to take a school like Tulane and bring them back to the SEC. It's not confirmed if conference realignment is in the game, but I think it would be hilarious to go to like Tulane, win like back-to-back national championships, and then go into the SEC and they drop like Missouri or somebody to take in a Tulane. Georgia Tech was one that came to mind too, but they're in the ACC, so it's not really like as cool. But Tulane would be my guess, and then I'll definitely
used to be in the SEC though.
That is true. I also thought about Sewanee, but I don't think the game will have Sewanee in it anymore. So either Tulane or I'll get some action. I'll go with like Akron or Bowling Green and get something going up there. Or Toledo, the Rockets.
Caleb is obviously going to be in the game. TBD for me if I'm going to be in the game again. I've got adult things I have to buy, and I don't think I'll be allowed to buy it. But can't wait. Should be fun. Nico, James Pearce, a lot of the headliners for Tennessee at this time opted in. And there's some, again, that are not opted in. But Caleb, as you mentioned, they can continuously opt in as we go on. You can get that full list, a nice little breakdown. It's over at the Daily Beacon, utdailybeacon.com, and you can go read Caleb's work over there. Caleb, as always, man, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me on, Kaner.
Game Time is the app to where you can buy tickets to your next event in your area, whether it's a sporting event, whether it's comedy, whether it's a concert, whether it's monster truck rallies, whatever the case may be, professional bull riding at the Food City Center over here on Tennessee's campus at Thompson Bowling Arena. Whatever the case may be, you can buy tickets to those events by using the Game Time app. And when you download the app, you can create an account, put in the promo code LockedOnCollege, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Create that account, put in the promo code LockedOnCollege, LockedOnCollege, Locked On College, for $20 off your first purchase. You can get last-minute deals, saving up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all with the Game Time app. Flash deals, zone deals, all in prices. By toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, you can see views from your seat. You got the lowest price guarantee to where you can go check, and if you find a cheaper ticket somewhere else in the same section, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of that difference. All this and more on the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app today. Use the promo code LockedOnCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. More to come as we talk with more to come as we continue on here with this Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. All right, welcome back into your Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. We'll have Ward Wednesday with a little Josh Ward coming up here in segment number 3. Appreciate Caleb Jarreau for stopping in, UT Daily Beacon, talking a little EA Sport that's in the game, specifically who's in the game for Tennessee football. We just got done with that conversation. Let's talk a little Tennessee baseball right now. So we know Tennessee baseball is on to super regional play for the 4th straight season, sixth time in program history. Tony Vitello just got this thing humming along, right? And it was Evansville, as you spoke on yesterday's show, that upset the top seed in the Greenville Regional, taking down Eastern Carolina in a decisive Game 7 on Monday to advance to becoming only the 9th number 4 seed in regional play ever to advance on to super regional play. So safe to say what I'm getting at here is Evansville is this year's Cinderella. And battered ball syndrome, a lot of people already reaching out to me and commenting and on the GQ and all that, just getting in their feels about it. And that's fair. I mean, we see what, who's bounced Tennessee out of the NCAA tournament, not this past year, but the year before that, with Florida Atlantic. That was obviously a Cinderella type story. You had Loyola Chicago during the Grand Admiral years that bounced Tennessee out of the NCAA tournament. That still stings a little bit. there's been teams that come out of nowhere, and it's fun. It's why we love sports. And guys, if Evansville, Josh will say this here in a moment, if Evansville was not playing Tennessee this weekend, we would be rooting for Evansville because we love the story of the underdog. It's fun. It's cool. And if Evansville knocked off another top team in the tournament, it would make it that much easier for Tennessee, but also we just love chaos. So all of America is going to be rooting for Evansville this weekend. No ifs, ands, buts about it. And I just I'm pat myself on the back. I enjoy this line. You know, I'm a sports writer, so I don't have much, guys. Just let me have this. But all of America is going to be cheering for Evansville this weekend. But too bad all of America can't fit inside Lindsey Nelson Stadium this weekend. All right, it shouldn't matter for this number one seeded overall Tennessee Volunteers. Shouldn't matter at all because Tennessee's the number one ranked team in the nation, the number one overall seed for a reason. Tennessee plays so well at home. Tennessee cruised through regional play. You know, they really, really did. When you compare and look around some of the other regions across the country and how it was such an uphill battle for some really good teams in college baseball, Tennessee cruised. So, yeah, the popular vote, America's heart's going to be with Evansville. But that shouldn't make a difference whatsoever. And baseball is different because if you square off a team against a team in the NCAA tournament, and they got a guy that just can't miss from deep, just can't miss. He can change the story of the game, okay? And you can call it an upset. You lose that game, you're done, you go home. Even if Evansville throws their ace on Friday and he's well-rested and ready to roll, and we'll get into the specifics on who to watch out for and all that on a Friday show, but even if Evansville has a guy that's shoving on the mound Friday, shoving on the mound on Saturday, you still got to play another game, right? I mean, for Tennessee, now granted, I don't anticipate, say they shove on Saturday and Tennessee lost, game one, then that would be it, but I don't see that happening. Let's just use Friday as an example. Say Evansville shoves on Friday, and they got a guy, a pitcher that can just totally change the outlook of a game. Tennessee just can't hit them. And then Evansville piles a couple of runs on there, and by the time Tennessee starts hitting, maybe it's a little bit too late in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning. And say Evansville steals a game because they had a guy that just shoved on the mound. Okay. But in baseball, you got to play the next day. In baseball, you got to play the best of a 3-game series. So even if you steal one, and Josh will point this out here in a moment, and I couldn't agree more, it's not like it's the end-all be-all. Tennessee is so good, so deep, has so much flexibility, has so much depth, that if you're a Tennessee fan, you should not be worrying about Evansville. Now, hear me correctly here. Respect your opponent. I understand Evansville had to fight, claw, scratch, its way to where it is now, okay? It was the number 3 seed in the Missouri Valley Conference. It tied for number 2 in the league standings in the regular season. It had to win the Missouri Valley Conference to even make it into the field of play. It did, okay? It won its first 2 games, knocked off East Carolina in Game 1 on Friday, took down VCU, the number 3 seed, in Game 2, okay? Had to play Eastern Carolina again, lost in dramatic fashion on Saturday, dramatic fashion and blowout fashion, and then had to win a nail-biter on Monday in the decisive Game 7 of that regional. So it's had its backs against the wall, and it did. So credit your opponent. It's not like you're just getting here because you don't have any talent. Obviously, Evansville's number 2 in the nation in doubles. Evansville set program records, as we pointed out yesterday, of home runs on the season, for doubles, for, there's one other thing. Was it batting average? I can't remember. The 38 wins on the season, 6th most in program history. There's talent there. So respect your opponent for sure. But boys and girls, you're the University of Tennessee Volunteers. You are bad word good. You are explicit good. You are so good. If you're a Tennessee fan, you shouldn't be worrying. Respect your opponent. Know you got to go out there and do your job and finish your job. But if you do all that, you should be back in Omaha for the 3rd time in 4 years. Should we be afraid of the Cinderella type story? In my opinion, no. However, again, nothing's guaranteed. You got to take it a day at a time. You got to take it a game at a time. You look at where Tennessee is on this side of the bracket. Oh, man. It lines up nicely. It does. You look at the other side of the bracket, and you have teams like Kentucky, Georgia, Florida, Clemson, Texas A&M. You look at Tennessee's side of the bracket, and I'm not trying. I mean, Tennessee can certainly lose to these teams. These teams are good too, but you compare those teams I just mentioned to the likes of Carolina, West Virginia, K-State, who Tennessee played in midweek and beat 15-3 or 15-4. Virginia, Florida State, UConn, who just won a Game 7 late Monday night to advance on the Supers, and of course Evansville. You like your path so much more than that of a Kentucky or a Georgia or an A&M or a Clemson. On paper, this is setting up to be the magical season that we've all wanted, bringing a national championship back to Tennessee. On paper, it's there. You don't play the game on paper, though. You don't. You got to go out there and you got to get 27 outs. You got to go out there and you got to score one more run than your opponent. And baseball's wacky and it's cruel sometimes. It was cruel the way the 2022 season ended. But that ended to a really, really good Notre Dame team in super regional play. Evansville's got talent. This is not the same situation, guys. This is not the same situation. So acknowledge, respect. This is all my opinion. Acknowledge. I feel like I'm at a podium, or I feel like I'm at the pulpit. I'm at church, and I'm just preaching. Acknowledge, respect, tip your cap, and know that nothing's guaranteed. But also, in my opinion, which might not mean anything to you, but in my opinion, if you're a Vol fan, don't be scared of that Cinderella story, because this isn't basketball. This isn't basketball. You play another day. They get you on Friday for some reason. Well, you're coming back on Saturday and you're going to wear them out. You're the Tennessee Volunteers. You're good. I wouldn't be worried about the Cinderella run. That's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. Again, all of America is going to be rooting for Evansville this weekend. Too bad America won't fit inside Lindsey Nelson Stadium. All right, when we come back, we'll check in with Josh Ward for a little Ward Wednesday. That is coming up next as we continue on here with this Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Josh, Tennessee baseball is super regional bound for the fourth straight year, for the sixth time in program history. It's almost like a well-oiled machine right now what Tony Vitello is doing here in Knoxville. But Tennessee Evansville, overall thoughts on the matchup?
Tennessee has a clear advantage as the number one overall team in this tournament, and then Evansville, a team that had to fight its way into the tournament, then had to fight through and edge out East Carolina, which was really impressive to do that in the regional, but it was a 4 seed in that regional for a reason, and Tennessee has done what it has over the course of this year. I mean, it's been a long time since anybody has been able to beat Tennessee twice in one setting. Alabama the last at the start of SEC play. So we're almost 3 months since that happened, Eric. The odds are obviously against Evansville in a big way, but if they come out and have a good Friday game and give themselves a shot to win and can somehow steal game one, all of a sudden the pressure is really on Tennessee. So game one is really important. I think that's pretty obvious, but even more so in this case because Evansville trying to win 2 straight, if it's top guy and Friday can't get the job done, that presents a problem. But this is a team that's capable. This is a sport where anything can happen. And Evansville, to play the other side, can say, hey, we went to East Carolina and we won that regional. All the talk was East Carolina or maybe Wake. Wake was the favorite in that regional, but we won it. So why can't we go do this? They know that there's no pressure. Nobody thinks Evansville's going to win. The time slots say nobody's going to be interested in this matchup. So Evansville has the, I wouldn't say mental advantage, but they have that side that they can play of. Let's just go play baseball and see what kind of shot we have.
Yeah, kind of on that note, I mean, it's Tennessee. You're the number one overall seed. You have the curse that's working against you already. You have the mantra of what Tennessee baseball is. A lot of that brought on by the 2022 squad that you still have haters all over the country. So it's going to be America rooting for Evansville. Too bad all of America, as I wrote in the 3-2-1 on Tuesday, too bad all of America can't fit inside Lindsey Nelson Stadium this weekend. But you've got that Cinderella story. And, battered ball syndrome, I get it. People are commenting, people are tweeting, people are texting me like, we've seen this so many times before where Tennessee's come out short against the Cinderella, but I do feel like a lot of points you made, man. Baseball's different. It's not one-game basketball. It's Tennessee would not lose to, I don't even know if Evansville has a football team, but Tennessee definitely wouldn't lose in that sport. But point is, if you drop one, it's the best of a 3, and Tennessee is the more complete team. Having said all that, I mean, all the pressure in the world is on Tennessee. None of it is on Evansville. Yeah,
I doubt that too many non-Tennessee fans will be Tennessee fans this weekend. And by the way, if you remove Tennessee from the equation and it was somebody else, Tennessee fans would love the story of Evansville. If it were Evansville trying to knock off any other SEC team or Clemson, Florida State, you think about top programs out of the ACC, Tennessee fans would say, hey, I'd love to see Evansville win, but it's Tennessee. So Tony Vitello and his team, everybody in that program, they know what the story is going in. They know about the history of the number 1 seed. But, we've talked about this team compared to the one 2 years ago. The lead up to this point has been different for this team. They've just gone out and played well. And I think they've proven a lot of people wrong from the start of the year. They've answered questions that I had, like what would the depth of the pitching be for Tennessee, especially with A.J. Russell's injury? And the answer's been really impressive to this point. And the lineup has been as good as we probably could have predicted, right, in a lot of ways. Like, look at the Sunday win to close out the regional, and it's the bottom of the order that is just knocking the ball out of the park. And if you're a pitcher for Southern Miss, you have to be asking yourself, well, what am I supposed to do here? Because we can't get guys out at the bottom of the order. We just don't stand a chance against Tennessee. And that's how good this team is. Bats can go cold at any time. That's why there is no guarantee, even in this series, Tennessee at home against a team like Evansville. But there's also no reason, there's no legitimate reason to worry. If we play the jinx, the curse game, sure. But worry? No. Tennessee is in a very good position going into this weekend.
Yeah, I kind of put it, coming out of regional weekend, I did not think Tennessee played bad baseball at all, but I certainly have seen Tennessee play better baseball, and Tennessee just cruised. I mean, 33-12, I think, was the combined score. It got a little dicey there towards the end against Indiana, but you still had, a 6-run lead? I mean,
right. That's what we're talking about here. Like, we're almost trying to force the issue and to create some kind of worry or drama because Tennessee made it look so easy.
Yeah, and it just looked like the number 1 team in the country by a country mile, no pun intended. I mean, it really, really did. So, and trying not to get caught up in that. I mean, Tony Vitello was visibly frustrated last week, even before those post-game press conferences that fans might have watched. Talking to him on Wednesday to the media and then kind of a little bit off the record. I mean, he's like, nobody's taking Northern Kentucky seriously. They're a good team. They're here for a reason. So, he's very much a coach. I get all that. So trying not to look too far ahead, but you see the path. You're a fan. You're a media. You see the path in front of you. You have the regional that you just cruised through. You have Cinderella standing in front of you in Omaha for the 3rd time in 4 years. And then say you get to Omaha and look at your side of the bracket, Josh. I mean, these are good teams. Don't get me wrong. These teams can knock Tennessee out. They're good teams.
Right.
But you like this side of the bracket way more than you like the other side of the bracket that still got some some Georgias, some Kentuckys, some Floridas, some Clemsons, some A&Ms. I mean, it on paper, it is setting up like, hey, Tennessee can do this thing.
Tennessee absolutely can do this. Tennessee can get to the end and play a series to win the title. Tennessee's the favorite going in. So that part is the obvious statement of, okay, they're favored to win it. We know that they can do it, but we also can talk about recent history, getting to Omaha, how difficult it has been, how difficult it is for anybody. And then it's natural to say, oh my gosh, something's going to happen. I guess something could, but just put it down on paper. There's no Paul Skeens that is terrifying you that I don't know how we're just going to even have a shot against this guy. So, at some point, if you have to go through Texas A&M, it's going to be a tough matchup. Tennessee saw him once in the SEC tournament. That's a different kind of setting, I recognize, and was fine there. There's no team. Look at the top contenders of North Carolina, Florida State, Kentucky. They're all really good teams, and they all could win the national title, but none should go in with any more confidence than Tennessee. The Vols have a real shot at winning the national title. And again, you can have a bad day at the plate with your bats. Arms could end up having some issues. But to this point, since that Alabama series, Tennessee has answered the call in every different way. And that's why Tennessee fans should feel good about what it will take to win the title.
Here locally on Friday, if you're listening to the Sports Animal, you and Swain, VFL Jason Swain, you guys are going to be acting as the openers, right? I mean, you're gonna lead us right into that 3:00 first pitch, right?
Yeah, my expectation would be that Tony Vitello and Josh Elander and Frank Anderson, they get the team together and they turn the speakers on and they say, all right, guys, nothing we need to say. Let's listen to the game plan. Josh and Swain are going to break it down, and then they will listen to everything that we say. they will do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And I know they don't have run rules in the postseason, but that's probably the kind of outcome that it will be. But it's an early start for Tennessee, and I know that's frustrating for some fans. A mid-afternoon game is just going to affect everybody's ability to get there or get to a TV or whatever the case is. I don't think it's going to affect Tennessee. I think Tony Vitello is probably going to tell his team, let's take care of business. He can play the chip on his shoulder card if he wants to. Hey, they think that this Cinderella team isn't even worth anybody watching. Don't let that be your mindset. Take care of business. Knock this team out. Whatever. Tony Vitello knows what to say. He knows what to do. And my guess is that they'll be fine. But, early Friday and then early Saturday, breakfast or brunch and baseball with Tennessee hoping to go 2-0.
Out the door, and this is a very open-ended, vague question, but I had an everydayer send this in last week, and I actually made a segment out of it, talking about his daughter, 14, 15 years away from being, going to college and all that, and thinking about where Tennessee athletics will be in that time, 14, 15 years down the line. We can't predict who's going to be coaching, what all's going to happen, but at this rate, I think a few things can be certain. I mean, I think Rick Barnes will be retired by then, but Tennessee basketball, depending on the transfer of leadership there, I mean, I think Tennessee basketball will be a force. Josh Heupel's got Tennessee football on the rise. Of course, Tony Vitello is one of the best baseball programs in the country. I mean, you go down the line, we'll see what Kim Caldwell does. What's your prediction on where Tennessee athletics will be as a whole, maybe the next decade? Because I think the next step is bringing back national championships to Knoxville. Yeah, you want to win some SEC titles in football and all that along the way and all that. But I think for baseball, for basketball, football with the expanded playoff, I think national titles should be in the realistic future over the course of the next 10 to 15 years. So I don't know, it's not really a question, but kind of where do you see this athletic department in the next 10 to 15 years kind of overall?
Well, we've been talking about the all sports trophy that Tennessee has won 3 straight years in the SEC. Across the board, Tennessee athletics is in a great position. The main sports are football, basketball, baseball, Lady Vols, and basketball and softball, as you're kind of laying out there. I look at the position Tennessee's in right now, and it doesn't look like there's any reason to worry about Tennessee slowing down. Nothing is guaranteed. Rick Barnes is obviously not going to coach forever. Coaches can leave. We'll see with softball when Karen Weekly decides she's done. But the position that Tennessee is in as a university is really impressive. The athletics department with Danny White as the leader is in really good hands. As long as he's the director of athletics, I would trust that he's going to do a good job of hiring coaches, which he'll have to do with other sports. Again, there's no 100% shot, but I think you have a better chance of landing a good coach when Danny White goes out and makes a hire. And then Tennessee's going to have resources. They're going to have financial backing. The SEC is going to make money. There's a lot that will be there for Tennessee to succeed in all these different sports. So just like Tennessee is on the way up right now, it'll go back down in some ways in some sports. And when Rick Barnes has to be replaced, that will be difficult. But Tennessee has an advantage against most schools in trying to hire coaches, which is where everything starts. There's the name, image, likeness aspect. There's a lot that has to be figured out with the future of the NCAA. But that applies to everybody. Whatever the future is with how athletes will be paid and what kind of financial resources will be needed, Tennessee is going to be in good shape. So Tennessee fans, I think, have a lot to look forward to across the board.
Josh and Sway, noon to 3 at 99.1 The Sports Animal locally, and of course you can stream it and go online, check them all out there on the Sports Animal app, and of course you got the Josh and Sway newsletter every Friday morning at 8:30. What else you got coming up on the show this week?
Yeah, a lot leading up to the baseball weekend. We've been going through some of these early football and even basketball preseason rankings, and some good guests, I think, to get ready for the Super Regional. So we talked to Connor Pavoloni on Tuesday. He was really good. He was a catcher. He wasn't correcting me necessarily, but I mentioned the run that this team has been on, and he kind of said, well, it's not even a run anymore. It's just sustained success. And he's right. He was on a run in 2021 when they made it back to Omaha. But Chris Burke on Wednesday, Chris Budden of ESPN, who's been doing awesome work covering all of the NCAA tournament. She covered the SEC tournament, will be our guest on Thursday. So a lot of baseball stuff, as it's an exciting time right now for Tennessee fans.
Josh, as always, man, appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, that is Josh Ward. You can catch him and Jason Swain again at noon to 3 every single weekday on your radio dial, 99.1 The Sports Animal, and of course on the Sports Radio WNML app and on the website as well. Josh and Swain, Ward Wednesday, every single Wednesday here on Locked On Vols. Big show, fun show. Had Caleb Jarreau coming on from the Daily Beacon. Had Josh Ward talk a little Tennessee baseball in Evansville, Cinderella story. A lot of baseball talk right now, but that's how it should be. You're the number 1 overall seed in the country and got a real chance. Got a real chance to win national championship. We'll see if Tennessee can handle business this weekend. And Locked On Vols will be there every single step of the way. Thank you guys for being here as always. We'll do it again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.